6. Hearing aids and listening devices. We have covered healthy requirements for carrying on a good conversation, how to take the lead, break the ice, and maintaining a conversation. You know what works and what does not. However, none of this guarantees success just yet. A great conversation hangs on two things: the talking and the listening. Scientific research has shown that people are capable of listening to approximately 300 words per minute. On the flip side, most of us can only speak at 150 to 200 words per minute. Unless you are one of those folk rattling off the disclaimer at the end of the radio spot advertising a new car lease. The dilemma is that we have the capacity to take in much more information than one person can divulge at any given time. So, what do we do when this excess capacity? We put it to good use, of course. We eavesdrop on other conversations. We start thinking about what to have for dinner, we drift away into our private thoughts, and suddenly we have drifted too far and missed something important. Psychologist Carl Rogers once said, "The biggest block to personal conversation is one man's inability to listen intelligently, understandingly, and skillfully to another person." Psychoanalyst Dr. Anne Applebaum understood the source of her livelihood when she wrote in the Menninger Clinic's newsletter Perspective. The image of the voice crying in the wilderness epitomized the loneliness, the madness of not being heard. So great is our need and hunger for validation that good listeners are prized. Psychoanalysts, for example, earn a living by listening and providing responses that validate the other person. Have you ever gone out to lunch with someone who really needs to talk? You hardly say a word. You offer a support, a few kind of words, a nod of the head, and you listened. The other person feels much better afterward and is ever so grateful for the conversation. In our technology-driven world, the bombardment of constant stimuli and white noise makes it a challenge to listen. Listening is no longer taken for granted. In fact, it's frequently the exception. Attentive listening has three parts: visual, verbal, and mental. Combine these elements and powerful listening result. Listening isn't not just heard. The psychological process of listening is invisible to the observer. We cannot watch the sound vibration go into someone's ears to confirm that they received the intended message. Consequently, the speaker is always on the lookout for cues to validate receipt of the message. Visual cues, which are the easiest form of feedback, let the speaker know you are paying attention. Facial expression, head nods, and positive body language are clear ways of expressing interest in your conversation partner's words. 8-year-old Nicholas came home from school, bounded into the house, and started telling his dad about his great day at school. "Dad, I had a great day at school. We had an art class today, and I painted a cool picture of the mountains. We played soccer during gym, and I scored a goal, and guess what? They served pizza for lunch." Nicholas looks at his dad reading the newspaper and sighs. "Dad, you're not listening to me?" His dad looks up and says, "Yes, I am, son. You painted a picture of the mountain, you scored a goal in a soccer game, and you had a pizza for lunch." Nicholas, unappeased, replies, "No, Dad, that's not it. You're not listening to me with your eyes." Even though Nick's dad clearly heard his son, Nick felt minimized because he did not have his dad's full attention. He wanted more than a download of fact about his day to his dad. He wanted to see his dad respond. He wanted to feel connected. He wanted his dad to be invested in the story. He wanted validation while he was telling his story. Listening is more than just hearing. It's a level of involvement that goes beyond reciting the contentment of the conversation. Ray Kurzweil, a pioneer in nonverbal communication, estimated that in a normal two-person conversation, verbal components carry less than 35% of the social meaning of the situation, while nonverbal components account for over 65%. It's critical to maintain eye contact when you are listening to another person. Don't look around at what others are doing. Stay focused on the conversation at hand, add noting to your visual listening cues, and this reinforced to the speaker that you are following along. Most people with a good intention provide eye contact, but even those with a good intention drop the conversational ball when in groups of three or more. As we glance at a new arrival or pursue the buffet table, we expect that the other is in our group are maintaining eye contact. After all, it was someone else at the table that posed the question or encouraged the conversation. They won't notice our momentary lack of attention, and yet it is noticed. And one of the consequences occur. Either the person speaking fears that we are bored, so he clams up, or it is assumed that we are arrogant or rude because of our lack of good manners. When talking with people, behave as if there are no distractions in the room. It is always okay to disclose that you need to keep your eyes on the door because you promised to keep an eye out for a friend's arrival. Then your lack of consistent eye contact is explained. Body language also gives the speaker clues about you and your listening. The following illustration demonstrates negative and positive body language. When you cross your arms and legs, you are exhibiting defensiveness even if your reason is cold weather. If you keep your head down and avoid eye contact, you send a message that you are avoiding interaction. Even if your reason is shyness and you actually want someone to talk to you, people generally respond to the signal by ignoring you. You're not considered approachable. If you rest your chin in your hand, it appears that you are bored. Likewise, when you place your hands on your hips, you appear aggressive and unhappy with your conversation partner or with the words you are hearing. There are just as many ways to signal your interest and enthusiasm for the dialogue. Positive message to the speaker. Lean forward, maintain eye contact, open up your arms and body, relax your body posture, face your partner, nod and smile. Off-putting gestures you should never use. Pointing, covering your mouth, rubbing a folding body part, fiddling with the jewelry, tapping a pencil or pen, swinging your leg, crossing arms, cross your chest, putting hands on your hips, glancing away from the person who's speaking. Unlike other small talking tricks that are easier than they look, this can be harder. Most of us are on automatic pilot when it comes to our body language because of the lifetime of habits. Our shoulders hunch over at a party because we are shy. We tuck and twist our hair because we are nervous. We sit stiffly during a job interview because of attention. Beware of what your body language is saying to the world. It requires practice and concentration to overcome nervous habits and use positive body language. Stick with it. Practice will make it easier every time. Here's a little trick for you. If you are uncomfortable maintaining full-on eye contact with your conversation partner, look them right between the eyes. Somewhat, this little step will make both of you feel more comfortable. It can be disconcerting to have someone staring straight into your eyes. A little polite acquiescence will make both of you feel connected but comfortable. You can also increase the comfort level of your conversation partner by modifying your own style to be more similar to hers. If you are chatting with someone who speaks slowly and softly, work to keep your volume low as well. You can overcome a slow-talking, soft-spoken person with your own volume and speed. This is not it to say you shouldn't be yourself. You should, however, as the host, you want to enhance the comfort of your guests. Verbalize your listening. Verbal cues complement the visual feedback you give a speaker. The absence of verbal cue makes a speaker wonder. If anyone is listening, I called my dad, who lives in Buffalo. I was telling him a story about the kids and there was silence on the other end of the phone. I abruptly stopped the story and asked, "Dad, are you there?" He became indignant and said, "Of course I am here. I'm listening to you. Tell me about my grandkids." I replied, "You were not saying anything, so I thought maybe you would suddenly be super worried about 8 feet of snow." "I didn't want to interrupt," he replied. "There are numerous verbal cues to let the speaker know you are fully engaged in the conversation. This brief comment tells the speaker that you are interested and want to know more. You can use verbal cues to show that you have a positive response, that you disagree, or that you want to hear more about something in particular. Check out this list to see which cues are used in the different situation. If you want to show that you are interested in hearing more, say, "Tell me more. What was that like for you?" If you want to show that you are taking it all in, say, "I see." If you want to show that you are responding positively, say, "How interesting. What an accomplishment." If you want to show that you are divergent, say, "On the other hand, what do you think?" If you want to show that you're expanding on the idea, say, "Along that same line, do you blah blah blah, and why?" If you want to show that you are arguing or refuting, say, "What proof do you have of that?" If you want to say that you are involving yourself, say, "Could I do that? What would it mean to me?" If you want to show that you are clarifying, say, "I'm not sure I'm clear on your feelings about." If you want to show that you are empathizing, say, "That must have been tough," or frustrating, etc. If you want to show that you are probing, say, "What do you mean by that? How were you able to manage?" If you want to show that you are seeking specific, say, "Can you give me an example?" If you want to show that you are seeking generalities, say, "What's the big picture here?" And if you want to show that you are looking to the future, looking for the future, say, "What do you think will happen next?" If you want to show that you are reviewing the past, say, "What happened first?" If you want to say that you are seeking likenesses or differences, you can say, "Have you ever seen anything like this? What's the opposing point of view?" And if you want to show that you are seeking extremes or contrasts, you can say, "What's the downside? What's the optimum?" Other verbal listening cues function to redirect the conversation by transitioning it to another topic. Examples of cues that offer a seamless seek include, "That reminds me of blah blah blah. When you were talking about blah blah blah, I remembered blah blah blah. You know, I was just reading in the paper about blah blah blah. I've always wanted to ask you blah blah blah. I thought of you when I heard blah blah blah. Do you mind if I change the subject? There is something I have wanted to ask of someone with your expertise." All these verbal cues indicate that you are fully present. Just as important, these cues encourage others to continue speaking. Imagine someone asks you a question at you and respond with a one-sentence answer. You are uncertain as to how much your information they are truly interested in learning. Added verbal cues as you respond ensure that their interest is sincere. Verbal cues encourages the others to continue. Use verbal cues as an active way to get others to do talking so that you can spend some time eating your cheeseburger. KB people seldom listen. Those of us who consider ourselves quite often congratulate ourselves for our awesome listening skills. At least we keep our mouths shut and listen. But this attitude is sometimes reflected as a lack of participation in the conversation. Too much listening and not enough verbalizing can halt the conversation too. It is important to verbalize let others know that we are following along, actively listening. Stating the obvious. When you paraphrase what's been said or repeat the specific of what you have heard, there can be no doubt that you have listened and understood the speaker. This is especially effective when you are disagreeing with your conversation partner or have listened to her explain something highly complex or technical. Paraphrasing the speaker clarifies that you are understood accurately, or it can help the speaker recognize that you misunderstood what she was attempting to communicate. For instance, I'm unhappy with what I perceive as a lack of help from my husband with household chores. We discussed the problem, and I'm thrilled when Steve promised to help more around the house. 2 weeks later, I jump all over him. I'm upset because I have no witness. He said a helper around the house. You promised to help me with household chores. When do you plan to start keeping your promise? I implore. I'm helping out, Steve replies. I've been collecting the trash and taking it to the curb every Thursday. That's it? I ask. I expected Steve to take on 50% of the chores, but instead of clarifying what he meant by agreeing to my request for help, I assumed I knew what he meant. He assumed I meant any help will be appreciated. Men and women will say exactly the same word and yet mean two entirely different things. Clarify or paraphrase to prevent misunderstandings at work and at home. In an emotional charged situation, you get a side benefit of diffusing anger when you repeat the specific of what the other person stated. People naturally calm down when they realize they have been understood. Skilled customer service manager who know that by repeating what an angry customer is saying, they can reduce the level of hostility. Remaining calm while doing to send a message about your own professionalism and poise. Before expressing apologies, before solving a problem, let the person know that they have been hurt by repeating the specific. 10 tips for tip-top listening. 10 tips for tip-top listening. Sorry, I'm repeating it again. Number 1, learn to want to listen. You must have the desire, interest, concentration, and self-discipline. Number 2, to be a good listener, give a verbal and visual cues that you are listening by nodding or eye contact maybe. Number 3, anticipate excellence. We get good information more often when we expect it. Number 4, become a whole body listener. Listen with your ears, with your eyes and your heart. Number 5, take notes. They aid retention. Number 6, listen now, report later. Learn to tell someone what you heard and you will remember it better. Number 7, build rapport by pacing the speaker. Approximate the speaker's gesture, facial expression, and voice pattern to create comfortable communication. Number 8, control internal and external distraction. Number 9, generously give the gift of listening. Number 10, be present. Watch the tendency to daydream. Don't drift off from conversation. Mental listening skills. All the visual and verbal cues in the world are useless if you haven't stayed focused enough on the conversation to track it well. A good conversation partner retains what's being said. If you are too bored to stay with the conversation, exit gracefully instead of embracing your conversation partner by demonstrating boredom. I had a business lunch with a woman who shall remain nameless. I told her a story about my kids and mentioned that my second and current husband is a very odontist. Several minutes later, during a pause in the conversation, she asked if I was married. Clearly, she had drifted away in the conversation. Yeah, do not jeopardize a relationship by failing to listen. Your job as a conversation partner is to listen when the other person is speaking. This is not optional. It's a required courtesy when conversing. If for whatever reason you cannot remain focused on what the speaker is saying, excuse yourself. Pardon me, can you repeat again? Or I'm sorry, I don't get it. You can say that to your partner when he or she speak something about. Yeah, the message you send through visual, verbal, and mental cues let your partner know the status of this conversation. If you feel trapped in the conversation and don't know how to exit, read on. We will take care of the dilemma as well. Number 7, prevent pregnant pauses with preparation. Even with icebreakers, conversation makers, and active listening, there are still times when the conversation can grind to a halt if you are not prepared. Invariably, at any conference, luncheon, at least one table of 8 intelligent people ends up staring at their plates trying to figure out how to get the conversation rolling after they have talked shop. 10 minutes too long. They could have avoided extensive examination of the rice Pilaf, if it's just one person had been prepared, yes, prepared as in advance planning, all eight knew. They would be sitting down with the seven people they didn't know. A good conversationalist prepared before the event. No worries, slides, laptop presentation, and laser points are not required. All that is needed is a bit of forethought that can be accomplished in the car of the way to the event. Here are a few foolproof ideas, jump starters. Did anyone happen to catch that special on TV last night? Have any one of you seen the film? Blah blah blah. You can say the title of the film. I just finished reading blah 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 blah, the title of the book that you already read. Has anyone read it yet? You can discuss it when someone maybe responds with your questions. Have any of you heard of that news or new technology? Maybe AI or something similar, but yeah, anything. Does anyone here have a bank, hairdresser, stockbroker, and a teacher they could recommend? Yeah, a lot of things you can discuss. Don't let old acquaintances be forgotten. You need more than icebreaker to enjoy your time conversing with others. You need to tailor your preparation to the nature of the occasion that people with whom you will be talking. One of the toughest audience after kids is an acquaintance you see only once in a while. You have some history together, you know a bit about each other, and you don't have a clue what's changed in the years since you last saw each other. In fact, it's good to assume that things probably have changed. Suppose you see the college annually at an industry function in the past 12 months. Your college may have gotten in a different job, experienced the death of a close friend or relative, gone on an extraordinary vacation, had a spiritual awakening, or got married or divorced. In other words, do not presume that you are picking up a conversation that started a year ago without asking, so what's new? A question that begs the conversation. Stopping answer, not much. Seek out what's new and keep the conversation rolling with questions like this. With acquaintances, use bring me up to the date on blah blah blah. What's been going on with work since I last saw you? What has changed in your life since we spoke last? How is your year been? What's new with the family? How's your wife? How's your husband? How's your partner? How is your job at? What are your child's college plans? All of the above can backfire if you do not know the person well. Getting a history lesson. Frequently, you find yourself in an awkward silence or a pregnant pause in the conversation. It's up to you to either invigorate the conversation or allow it to slowly grind to a halt. Do your part to charge up the conversation by being prepared with the question on the origin and history of those people you are with. For instance, you can inquire. History lessons. How did you two meet? How did you get started? What got you interested in this area? When did you first know what you wanted to be? A blah blah blah. What brought you to Colorado? How do you all know each other? What got you interested in marketing? What gave you the idea for this business? What happened first? Preparing for the long haul. Prepare for a conversation like you would prepare for an interview. Both as the interviewer and the interviewee, it takes much less effort to prepare for a conversation than a job interview, but the philosophy is the same. You want to have material prepared that is relevant to the event so that you can converse articulately and gracefully. I call the questions that fall into the category interviewing questions. They help keep the conversation humming along. As I drive into a parking lot before entering a meeting, luncheon, or any type of function, I prepare as if for an interview. I spend 2 minutes thinking about specific interviewing question to apply to the person's event or situation I am about to encounter. Yeah. Most of us find ourselves seated across from a stranger we know nothing about. We panic and cannot think of anything to say. What an awkward moment. Think about it. When is the worst time to think of something to talk about? When there is nothing to talk about, here are some examples of interviewing questions you can customize to fit your own personality. Interviewing questions. What do you enjoy most about this season of the year? What got you involved in this organization or event? If you were not here, what would you be doing at this very moment? If you could meet any one person, whom would you choose? Tell me about an issue that matters a great deal to you. What has been your most important work experience? When you are getting together with a person you have spent time with before, review some of the particulars you learned on previous occasion. Maybe you discussed the MBA they were working on, or the volleyball league they coach each spring, or the fact that gardening is a beloved hobby. Do not expect to recall this specific during a pregnant pause. Instead, prepare yourself. Interviewing questions. What word would you say describes you best? Do you have a personal motto or creed? Do you have any heroes that you greatly admire? What did people in high school think you were like? What do you do that you wish you could stop doing? The nonverbal part of the conversation. One of my favorite exercises when teaching small talk seminars illustrate the point beautifully. I get 10 to 12 people in a circle and arbitrarily hand one of them a ball of yarn. The person must hold on to the end of the yarn, disclose something about herself, and toss the ball of yarn to someone else in the group. The recipient must ask a question of the thrower about what she said. The recipient must then tell something about himself, hold onto the string, and toss the ball, the yarn, to the next person. This continues until every person had the ball. I love this exercise because the participant discovers several things. First, since they do not know when they will receive the ball, they truly listen to what everyone else is saying. Paying attention is the only way they will be able to ask the intelligent questions. Second, they learn to focus on the asking appropriate related question or making appropriate related verbal cues. Asking appropriate question and making appropriate comment is one of the easiest ways to keep the conversation chugging seamlessly long. Last, they pay attention to the body language because the speaker always makes eye contact prior to throwing so that the ball won't be dropped. If the speaker does not make eye contact or the listener is not paying attention, the conversation abruptly ends with a noticeable thought. Advanced planning helps ensure that the ball does not get dropped. If you are at an event where you will spend a considerable amount of time with the same group, such as a luncheon, be prepared to move beyond an icebreaker and initial conversation makers. You need to be prepared to engage in the longer conversations. So you need more topics. Don't need to be difficult if you are worried that you will forget. Keep a cheat sheet in your wallet or purse to pursue just prior to lunch. This one topic that you do not need have a list for is the one you know best. Yeah, yourself. Out of the courtesy to the introverts in the crowd, I have waited until we were well into the book before getting to this point, regardless of how many appropriate questions you have on hand. Sooner or later, you must talk about yourself. The rules of good conversation require give and take. If you only ask questions, your conversation partner will resent the lack of parity. It's important that each person tell about herself. This is a stretch for some people. Tough. It used to be a stretch for me too. I have discovered that most of people who are reticent to talk about themselves fear one or both of the following. They worry that their lives are too ordinary to be interesting, and they do not want to appear self-centered or conceited. Ordinary people. Guess what? Most of us are ordinary people just trying to live our life. We worry about paying bills, educating kids, and our favorite team, winning a championship, getting a promotion, caring for elderly parents, taking an occasional vacation, having time for a hobby, and relaxing now and then. We are all alike then. We are different. And our commonality as a human being opens the door for connecting and conversations. Even ordinary people have extraordinary things happen to them that make for excellent conversation. Every person I know has had an extraordinary experience for one kind of or another, lurking somewhere in your conversation as a hilarious event, a once-in-a-lifetime vacation, a ridiculous moment, an exciting accomplishment, a hair-raising, happy hour tale, an uncanny coincidence, or an incredible adventure. Find it and bring it out. Almost anything is a conversation in the making. Limelight ethic. There are a few rules to remember. as you reluctantly step into the limelight. You will do fine if you follow this advice. No one is skulking about what with a hook looking to pull you off stage. First, disclose information about yourself that is comfortable and uncontroversial. Lead with easy, positive, and light information. Building trust and intimacy over time creates friendship. Having a conversation is a little like a peeling an onion. You want to proceed in layers, matching the level of intimacy shared by your partner. And for instance, suppose your small talking sidekick has just confessed that after a long holdout, the realities of being a soccer parent resulted in their family buying a minivan. This does not open the door for you to say that you have been recently diagnosed with breast cancer. However, if the conversation were taking place at a race for the cure and you were wearing a pink ribbon indicating that you were a cancer survivor, it would be acceptable to discuss breast cancer. Your choice of conversation material should be appropriate to the occasion and to the type of rapport and intimacy established. I recently attended a luncheon where I was seated at one of those round tables with the 7 people I had never met. We came to a lull in the conversation that instantly made everyone decide it was time to look at his or her pagers for messages. I assumed the burden of conversation and jumped in with a story about a vacation that my family had taken over spring break. I said, "We went on a Club Med vacation in Mexico last spring and had a great time. It was so hassle-free I couldn't believe it. Since you pay off that fee for everything, I didn't have to fish for money every time." The kids wanted a Coke. They just went and got it. It seemed so effortless and there were activities for all of us. My vacation story accomplished three things that rejuvenated the conversation. First, I told something about myself, giving others the opportunity to feel more connected to me, increasing that comfort level stimulated conversation. Second, I offered a new topic that gave material for the others to use. Third, it gave me my table mates the chance to share their own experiences. Our conversation sprang to life immediately as others jump in with questions, stories, and vacation plans of their own. You are not limited to talking about events and experiences. You can share feeling opinion about books you have read, restaurants you have visited, and movies you have seen. For instance, I was at an award banquet talking with a gentleman. He said, "I'm really nervous being here. My wife had to go away on business, so I'm here alone, and I don't know anyone else." I talked with him about how nervous I used to get at a social function, and that brief exchange helped quell him, and we went on to converse at length about a variety of topics. Speak no evil. Barring exceptional circumstances, avoid this often conversational topic that can stop a conversation in its track. Stories of questionable taste, gossip, personal misfortune, particularly current ones, how much things cost, controversial subject when you don't know where people stand, health, like your health or their health. The exception is when you are talking with a person who has an obvious new cast, scratches, or bandage. In that situation, the apparent temporary medical apparatus is free information. If you skirt the issue, it's a bit like having the elephant in your living room and ignoring it. While there is an infinite list of acceptable conversation topics at public venues, there is also a short list of subjects that are generally off limits. If you are unsure about the subject appropriateness and hesitate before bringing it up, it's probably better left unspoken. When unsure, I always invoke the old math axioms my algebra teacher taught me. When in doubt, leave it out. Avoid any area that is likely to offend your conversation partner. Playing for square. Keeping a conversation rolling is not unlike the old playground game for square. You must pass the ball among all these players and keep the ball in bounds for play to continue. This requires focusing on the ball at all times and passing it round. Some of the people in your group may be reluctant to receive the ball for the same reason that you are. They are shy, feel like their lives are too ordinary, do not enjoy the attention, and etc. It's up to you to help them, or they can will fall apart. One of the easiest way to start or keep a conversation going is To compliment another person, finding something nice to say about someone is usually not that difficult. Surely they have something to like about them. Being forthright enough to tell them what you admire about them and makes an immediate connection between the two of you. With connection comes its etymological conversation. An authentic compliment makes the other person feel good about both of you, and that enhances the rapport, making conversation easier. The key is that your compliment is genuine, so select something that you can truly support. No matter what you choose, it will fall into one of these three categories: appearance, possessions, or behavior. Mark Twain once said that a good compliment lasted him 60 days. Prior to my wedding, I had a conversation with my good friend Karen about all the arrangement. I told her that for a period of time I had been seeing two men, Ben and Steve. She invited me to tell her about both of them. I said, Ben has a great sense of humor. His life of the party, dresses like $1,000,000, and has taken me on wonderful trips. We have been to Hilton Head, Europe, and had a bunch of weekend mountain getaways. He's a great golfer and an all-around wonderful guy. Carol could hardly contain herself, and she was so excited. She said, he sounds like a dream. I'm so happy that you're marrying him. I'm not, I replied. I'm marrying Steve. Karen was speechless. Finally, she collected herself and said, well, Deborah, Ben sounds like a prince. Why are you marrying Steve? Because he makes me feel so special because of all the wonderful things he says about me, and you know what? He means every one of them. The power in a sincere compliment is enormous. There is nothing that makes people feel more special than to have their finer traits noted and appreciated. The perfect compliment. You can compliment someone on a new hairstyle, an item of clothing, a piece of jewelry, or physical appearance. However, not all compliments are created equal. A good compliment acknowledges the object of admiration. That's a nice sweater you are wearing, or what an unusual tie. An excellent top-of-the-line compliment goes beyond that to give conversation material by expounding on why you like the item. For instance, you might elaborate on this sweater by saying, I love your sweater. That shade really enhanced the color of your eyes. You can turn your appreciation of a good looking tie into a powerful compliment by saying, that is a great tie. Its unusual design really sets it apart. I always enjoy it when men make fashion statements with their ties. Beware of complimenting appearance in the workplace. In many instances, it can be constructed as a subtle form of sexual harassment. Perhaps you are with someone who has no fashion sense whatsoever, and you have no appreciation for her taste in clothing, makeup, or accessories. Fear not, you may do better in complimenting her on a possession such as her home, an elegant fountain pen, a new car, even a coffee mug. A good compliment would be, you have a lovely home. Turn that into state-of-the-art flattery by saying, your home is lovely. I really like all the photos you have. They personalized your home and gave it a lot of warmth. Instead of saying, this is a great cup of coffee, consider, I love the richness of Indonesia, Sumatra, and this is a great size mug. Last but not least, you can notice a compliment someone else's behavior. This is the best way to converse with kids. Instead of noticing when they do something wrong, they try celebrating positive behavior. It will go a long way toward furthering communication with them and deepening your bond. Kids are not the only ones who appreciate compliment regarding their behavior. Adults can really open up in the wake of such acknowledgement. I know a realtor who took a couple house hunting on one Sunday. She drove them all over the town and probably showed them over 30 houses. They went in and out of neighborhood in town in the suburbs, the works. After 6 hours, they had completely run out of the thing to say and still had not found a single house that the couple was remotely considering. The realtor was tired and just about out of ideas. Then she said, I really admire that you know exactly what you want. You're not going to settle for something that you don't want and then possibly be unhappy with your choice later. The one compliment got you complete couple charged up again, and they were able to find a new topic of conversation to get them through The day, although they didn't locate their dream house that Sunday, although behavior compliment include comments like, I appreciate how organized you are for our meetings. It makes it easy to get the work done. It must have taken a lot of courage to take careers during your peak of success. I really admire that. You have an amazing amount of determination. I think it's remarkable that you set aside time to successfully train for a marathon. Congratulations. I know you are nervous about this procedure. It's a great that you made yourself show up. You certainly look at the bright side of things. It is a pleasure to work with you. You managed to run such an organized home even with your 4 children. It's so beautiful. You are a great mother. Again, the ticket to a successful pat on the back is that you over it sincerely. You may find that the person you are complimenting has difficulty receiving the prize. He may try to neutralize the compliment by denying it or feel obligated to return a compliment. If that happens, reaffirm your sincerity and move on to an adding form and substance. Besides complimenting the other person, another way to draw a reluctant speaker into the conversation is to toss her the ball by asking questions. In addition to the icebreakers back in chapter 2, there are 4 categories of questions that are effective in social situations. I use the acronym form to remember them. Family. Tell me about your family. Does everyone live in the area? What do you like best about being a father, a mother, a son, aunt, and etc.? O for occupation. What got you into your current job? How did you come up with that idea? What are some of the toughest challenges in your job? If you could change one thing about your job, what would it be? How has the internet impacted your business or industry? R for recreation. What do you do for fitness? What kind of things does your family do for fun? How do you spend your leisure time? What's been your favorite vacation? M for miscellaneous. Have you seen any good movie lately? What do you think about blah 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 news event? Are you reading anything you really enjoy? No matter what your chosen topic of conversation, I cannot overstate the importance of being authentic when talking with someone. If you are not genuinely interested in what the other person is saying, no amount of planning or preparation will save you from a doomed conversation. Interest in someone else cannot be feigned. If you truly cannot muster any enthusiasm for a dialogue, you owe it to your partner to excuse yourself and make your way to another approachable person. The March of Progress. You are well into this book by now. You have become familiar with techniques to make you an excellent conversationalist. It's a good time to reflect on how far you have come as a practice this skill and identify the opportunities for improvement that lay before you. Take the winning at a small talk quiz again and see if you have made any improvement. Look yourself in the mirror and respond with honest yes or no answers to the following statement. I'm conscious of taking turn in conversation so that I can find out about others and help them get to know me. I have joined or participated in at least one club or group activity in order to develop new business or social friendship. I have used my contact to help at least 2 people find new jobs or hook up with potential customers and clients. I have given information to someone for other networking purposes. I go to all at least 2 functions a month where I can meet people in my profession, industry, or potential decision maker. If another person is friendly to me, I find it easy to be friendly back. However, I don't wait to make sure the other person is friendly before I'm friendly in return. When someone asks what's new, instead of saying not much, I often talk about something exciting in my life. How did you do? If you are like me, you probably still have some work to do. It takes effort and practice to change habits. I suggest that you write down one statement reflecting what you want to conquer. Focus on that one goal until you feel comfortable and then move on to the next. When you stay focused, it won't take long. A simple rule that garners great reward is to start a conversation with a minimum of 3 new people a week. In line at the grocery, waiting for a meeting to begin with your next door neighbor, comfort will come with steady practice. 8. Conversational cloud. I do not suggest that you use aggressive conversation tactic. However, I do propose that you use assertive rather than passive language. Allow your conversation method to convey your coarse range. How many times do we hear words come out of our mouth that sound meek, apologetic, and hesitant? When you offer to try to get back to you by tomorrow, you are admitting that a firm expectation does not exist. The words we select for a conversation can convey messages we do not intend to deliver. Has a member of a wait staff at the restaurant ever said to you, "We cannot make a substitution"? Or a customer service representation respond to your inquiry with, "If I can find out blah blah blah"? As you will discover in this chapter, certain expression and statement as well as questions can let the conversation down an unintended path. Be aware when you use the following examples and notice how you project yourself in the course of conversation. When will that be ready? Put yourself in the driver's seat. Instead, will you please have that ready for me by Tuesday? I would have to direct you to the wrong store. Hate to do that. Hate to make a mistake. Instead, I do not know what store to direct you to, or I believe that you can find that product at blah blah blah. I was going to say that property taxes seem high, and I would think that roses would require more sunshine than this space provides. This qualifies what you are about to say. Either statement sounds caution and timid. Instead, I believe property taxes are high, or from experience, roses require more sunshine than it provided in this space. Can I interrupt you for a minute? Can I ask you a question? You already have. If you are willing to interrupt someone when they are engaged to ask the questions, but to be polite, you could over, "I'm sorry to interrupt," and then ask your questions. I will have to ask someone about that. Who are you? None. Instead, I will be glad to check with accounting and get back to you. I'll be honest with you, I had a great time. Are not you always honest? Are you qualifying this particular statement over the others you have made? Instead, I had a great time. Can you spell your name for me? Most of us know how to spell our names. We do not need to be asked first if we know how. Instead, please spell your name for me. If I can find out a low expectation is established with when you use the word if, raise expectation is still confident. Instead, I will look into this and get back to you one way or the other. I am the only the blah blah blah. Your role or job is important. This is the meaning to oneself to find the capabilities and responsibility in your area of expertise. Instead, my responsibility are focused on website development, and I will be glad to check with sales about your order. I cannot meet with you this morning. This project an unwillingness to deliver the best possible outcome, or it project a burden. In either case, say what you can do, not what you cannot. Instead, I can be there by 3 this afternoon. I will try to get this back to you this week. The word try conveys the underlying message that this is not something that is dependable. Instead, I will get to you no later than next week. Tell people what will you do, not what you hope to do. I will have to blah blah blah, another burden. I will have to check with my husband, or I will have to check with my secretary. Instead, I will be glad to check with my husband, and I will be glad to speak to my secretary and get back to you. You will have to call me tomorrow. This is a busy time for me. This sounds like a person giving order and placing another burden on my already heavy load, and I don't like to be bossed around. Instead, you can call me tomorrow. That's a better time for me. I'm really not sure. Yes, you are sure. You are sure you do not know. Instead, I don't know how to get to call back as Jennifer is a good with direction. May I ask you your name? Permission is not necessary to ask someone's name. Instead, what's your name? Where we are what we say, and the true window to our souls is our word. Let your words bespeak the strange within. 9. Crimes and misdemeanors. I travel frequently, small talking my way across the country. One of the biggest trends I have seen is an increase in assault and a conversation with a deadly weapon. I have been victimized myself a couple of times. You should know that these people are armed and dangerous, and if they enter your dialogue, you are at serious risk of witnessing the torturous murder of your conversation. Stay on your toes. These people are cleverly disguised. They can orchestrate several costume changes at a single event and impersonate people in every profession. If you sense danger, stay calm. Be on the lookout for these renegades. One further cautionary note. Even the worst offenders are staring back at us from the mirror. I've decided it's time to get more aggressive in preventing conversational crimes. I have investigated this phenomenon extensively and have organized the killer into 8 classifications. During the course of your own daily conversation, try not to add your own name to the conversational criminal's most wanted list. Here are some crime-fighting techniques to keep honest conversational list safe. The FBI agent. The FBI agent definitely does not have the national interest at heart. He or she can be seen stalking casual conversation and pulling people aside for interrogation. You will immediately recognize their unmistakable modus operandi because they fire question after question at you and like a machine gun in a jungle. What do you do for a living? Where are you from? You married? Got any kids? Lived here alone? How long have you been on the job? What's your mother's maiden name? Notice that the FBI agent relentlessly assaults his captive with a barrage of questions, and he leaves no opportunity for his captive to offer a confession of any kind. And the captive is not allowed to expand over additional evidence, ask questions, or even have a glass of water. Forget about making a phone call or getting a lawyer. The captive is forced to give staccato answer to just keep the pace. He is held in custody at the whim of the interrogator who, when finished with the questioning, unceremoniously dumped the captive and moved on to round up another suspect. The interrogatory method seldom worked to anyone's satisfaction. The agent would be much more successful if he asked open-ended questions requiring more extensive answer, and the detained would cough up plenty of information effortlessly if given the opportunity. The agent also makes the mistake of settling for one or two word answers. Digging deeper could have uncovered motive, alibis, opportunities, and background information that would have proved quite helpful in the agent's quest for conversation had he asked appropriate probing questions. He misses a great opportunity to gain information by not confessing something about himself first, which might have caused you to drop your guard and be more at ease, turning the interrogation into a conversation. The braggart. This convict made his way onto the most wanted list by executing a series of conversational mass murder in almost every state. He frequently appeared during the period of self-disclosure. He will boast of his accomplishment, embellish the truth, and brag about feats, mighty and small, in a very self-aggrandizing manner. He usually makes no attempt to go incognito, so arrogant is he. His goal is to gain status in the eyes of those in attendance, so he welcomes an audience. The bigger the group, the more bravado he feels. He has been known to kill multiple conversations with a single appearance. His trademark is that he will always relate all of his accomplishments. He made a killing in the stock market. He will tell you how he outwitted the financial expert by choosing a long shot that paid off big. Of course, his son is the captain of the baseball team, and the pro scout are the recruiting the boy. He will spare you no detail. Perhaps he just bought a top of the line gizmo. You cannot imagine why everyone else does not do the same. He always has an I am king of the world story to tell. The braggart's sister, Braggarita, is equally lethal, although she prefers single encounter with people she knows. She usually prefers to do her posting in a more personal way. She tends to speak conspiratorially to members of her inner circle. She leaves it to them to spread the word Of Bragarita's greatness to unknown parties, Bragarita never directly disclosed her greatness to strangers. She lets them find out from her coterie of confidants who are charged with telling others. While strangers are not required to bow to Bragarita, it is expected that they will be suitably impressed. She will very quietly tell her inner circle about her new designer kitchen and how much it costs. She will tell them about a smashing vacation on the French Riviera that everyone else must take. In fact, she will give you the name of her travel agent just so you can replicate the trip. The only hope of stopping a small talk murder orchestrated by the braggart and braggarita is to bring the conversation back to the more general topics such as the current event. You can also refocus the conversation on your own life, telling about something that you are currently doing. There is no point in going to two with either of them because it is impossible to directly stave of their boastfulness. Your only weapon is redirecting the conversation. Can you top this? The one upper. Members of this long-standing conversational crime family are first cousins to the braggart and his sister. These folk generally come from a patriarchal lineage, as women have a slightly different method to their mother, while the one-uppers generally do not brag first. They always top someone else's story. They seem to be completely unaware that they have offended others. Small talk about constantly trumping another person's story. Sometimes the one-uppers genuinely believe they are showing compassion and demonstrating excellent listening skill by topping another's tale. You know the scene. Your college Brian is looking for a new job and you inquire about how the search is progressing. As soon as Brian offers an update, John launches into a tale about his own difficulties on the job, making it seem like unemployment is preferable to his own job woes. Before you know it, the group is talking all about what's going on in the industry, and Brian's job search is lost in the shuffle. His troubles are not acknowledged, no solution are offered, no sympathy is given, no encouraging words found him. Brian is left feeling like no one really cares about his plight. While John might have thought he was being supported, he was not. He simply diverted attention away from Brian and onto himself. Women are expert at topping another story, but their approach is to match someone else. For instance, Rose talk about relationship problem she is having with Stephen, and Shelley commiserates by saying, "Honey, I know just what you mean. My Anthony had the nerve too, blah blah blah." The women who topped the initial women's story didn't really commiserate. She stole the show. She took the spotlight off the other women and put it right on herself. She stopped the other women in the middle of her story. A business friend, Vivian, recounted the following horror story she and her beau witnessed at a swinging story in Washington, D.C. Another couple attended with us during the reception. The wife, we will call her Kathy, commented that another woman who was standing nearby had owned the same outfit that she was wearing. As the women approached, Kathy struck up the conversation. Kathy commented on the show on how they were wearing the same gown anyway. Kathy then asked his two women, whom she had just met, where she bought her outfit. The woman told her the name of a well-known expensive store. I could not believe the next word after Kathy's smile. "Oh, I got one at the thrift shop for $15. A particularly troublesome spot for women is talking about their kids. Sometimes I have to fight myself for keeping from jumping in and telling my own kid tales when another woman is telling a story about hers. Instead of enjoying the story she's sharing, I can get sidetracked because her story reminds me of something similar that my kids did at that age. I get so excited that I just want to jump right in there because I am exhilarated by the conversation. This is not a stealth conversation, this is one in which everyone wants to pull. However, it's a very deflating to the person telling the original story. Her story is the one that got the group so enthusiastic. It's important to acknowledge that to enjoy such a great story, there is no need to rush to the next. It's like a hurrying through a glass of wine. You miss most of the experience in the rush to complete it. Be aware of one of the most prevalent one-upping statements circulating these days. Been there, done that, in one very short sentence. The person uttering Those 4 words is saying that the story is old news, that there is nothing else to say about that topic. It lets the other person know in no uncertain terms that his experience is universal and he can spare the rest of us the detail of such a boring story. Crime Stoppers report that it is tough to double the one-upper who is quite successful in crossing the conversation to death. Those still sitting usually attempt to regroup in a clandestine fashion to prevent another crime. The monopolizer. A master of this quiz, the monopolizer has managed to infiltrate conversation across the country. Victims are shocked to discover that even a very introverted and shy person can turn out to be a monopolizer. The monopolizer can turn up anywhere. Even at the most exclusive of events, they strike boldly, seizing the conversation. In plain view of all, they can enter any conversation and artfully gain control before a single person can react. There is never any shortage of witnesses to the monopolizer's crimes. Nevertheless, people are initially too captivated to take action. The monopolizer takes the spotlight through the self-disclosure and retrain it by continuing to peel the layers of the onion without regard to whether anyone in the group is feeling any discomfort. Monopolizers feel justified. They believe they are performing a community service by keeping the conversational ball rolling. Usually shy people who find that the spotlight is rather fun can be the worst offenders. Instead of hogging the ball, the monopolizer should pass it to someone else in the group. I have a personal rule that I never talk for more than 5 minutes before passing the ball. Time can fly when we are talking about ourselves, no matter what the topic. How I lost 65 pounds, how I got into business, why my kids are so incredible. The clock is ticking. When my 5 minutes are up, I pass the ball to someone else with an appropriate question or comment. It's not just our golfing buddies and our in-laws who are monopolizer. Don't get mad started. If you are alone with a monopolizer, you have several options to salvage the situation. If you are with your boss, a client, or your mother-in-law, it's usually best to surrender and give the gift of listening. Once in a while, you can be successful for brief interlude by changing the topic using self-disclosure or asking a prepared questions. However, it is impossible to make a monopolizer stop. You cannot change another person. If your career or relationship with your extended family is one on the line, just surrender and consider it a random act of kindness. There are occasions when you can successfully stop a monopolizer when you are approaching your saturation point. Throw out a white flag as a warning. Just like a race car driver gets a white flag indicating time constraint, you must throw one before you can legitimately stop a monopolizer in his track. For example, you are in your office and your friend Gary comes by to tell you about his golf game. When you are running out of time, interest, or willpower, you throw a white flag by saying, "Wow, Gary, that's an amazing run you shot. Before you continue, I need to let you know that in a few minutes I have to get back to preparing the budget." You have politely given Gary the signal that you need to end the conversation shortly. Gary takes another 4 minutes telling you of his exploits on the 12 and 13 holes. You can now wrap it up by saying, "Well, Gary, that's really something. I have to take care of the budget right now. Maybe we can catch up another time." You can now turn your attention to your budget without worry. Your request is an obligation and you gave fair warning that it was time to end the chat. If you are in a group or 3 or more, assume the rule of house and make an interception. Every year I get together to catch up with some college friends for an evening. My friend Lori is infamous for her legendary ability to monopolize the conversation. Given my line of work, I feel obligated to have the group and facilitate passing the ball. So I jump in after she's had more than her 5 minutes on the floor and say, "Lori, that's a great story about Adam's hitting straight. Marilyn, what's been going on with your kids?" Connecting Laurie's story about her son to Marilyn's kids lends continuity to the conversation while diplomatically allowing someone else a chance to talk. As Uncle Joy is going to analyze about the life of an auditor, transition to the conversation to someone else that sounds tough. "Uncle Joy, Cousin Larry, what's going on For you at work, monopolizers have shown that they are candidates for rehabilitation. They have been successful in restoring conversational balance. Once they realize that talking incessantly is not exactly a favor for everyone else. Remember, as the house, your goal is not only to get the monopolizer to yield the floor, it is to include others, especially the quiet ones. Invite them into the dialogue with a question or comment directed to them. Even when there is not a monopolizer in the conversation, pass the ball to everyone. The interrupter. Beware the interrupter, of course. This villain comes in all shapes, sizes, and haircuts. I've often wondered if the interrupter was prevented from ever finishing a sentence as a kid and is retaliating against society. The interrupter is characterized by high drive, determination to make her point, and a lack of patience. I confess that I have done time as an interrupter. I was convicted of interrupting my husband relentlessly. I was on probation for a while, but after the 3 strikes, I was in the joint. My husband is very low key, and my conviction caused him a great deal of angst. He understood my temperament and was torn about confronting me, but after I interrupted him one too many times, he demanded justice. Frequently he would start to say something and provide rationale for his point. If I didn't agree, I would jump right in without letting him finish. I didn't want to wait 3 minutes for him to make his case. It was an eternity. Most interrupters are like me. We interrupt because we think we know what you are going to say, so let's not waste time. We know that you are wrong, and we must hurry to point out the errors in your thinking. However, having already gone through one divorce, I was not interested in destroying our near perfect union with my short attention span and lack of patience. I have since realized that interruption badly sabotage a good conversation, so now I campaign against them. There are only 3 good reasons for interrupting. The first is that you need to exit immediately. The second is that the topic of conversation is too uncomfortable to bear, and you need to change the subject right away. And the third is if you are the company of a monopolizer who has refused to offer you a natural break in the conversation for more than 5 minutes. The poor sport. The poor sport has an unparalleled reputation for small talk suicide. The poor sport will kill her own conversation by refusing to play by the rules. A very cunning illusion artist, the poor sport changes our open-minded question into clues and quips. Using smoke and mirror, the poor sport always finds a way to reduce a beautiful question into a simple one-word answer. When asked, "What did you do this weekend?" the poor sport will reply with the question left plenty of room for the poor sport to select some aspect of the weekend for a conversation. Instead, she strangled the conversation by withholding nourishment. The poor sport just does not play well with others. She ignores the rules, but as it suits her and quits the game without warning. At a cocktail party full of strangers, she is approached by a gentleman who introduced himself and asks, "And what do you do?" Not wanting to play the small talk game, she responds sarcastically with "in the event of what?" A lazy retort that has been common these days is "back at you." For instance, "I love you, dear, back at you." This is right up there with the expression "ditto," as in "I truly enjoy spending quality time with you," which garners the lackluster replay "ditto." This kind of non-committal response cheats the person who first revealed his or her feeling. Some poor sports simply have never been properly trained. They never and they don't know how to ask open-ended questions themselves. With an outreach program, some of them show promise. You can help out a poor sport by answering a close-ended question as if it had been open-ended. For instance, if a poor sport asks, "How was your weekend?" don't just say, "Great." "What about yours?" Instead, teach by example. Over great. "We took the kids skiing and it was a perfect day. The only glitch was that Mike took a bad spill, but he's okay now." You have helped out a poor sport because you have given her a lot of material with which she can ask a related question to keep the conversation from reaching a quick demise. You have over information about yourself that can help bridge distance and create conversation. One cautionary note: it is very easy to become the monopolizer in the presence of a poor sport. Exercise restraint and keep tossing the ball back to the other person. Over information that will contribute to the conversation but do not steal the show. The know-it-all. These nasty criminals will mow you down with arrogance and condescension. They know everything and they will tell you so. They just knew that the stock market was going to take a dive or hit a high. In fact, they knew that the election would be close, that the winter was going to be brutal, and etc. There is just no end that what they know. Since they know that they are always right, they see no point in soliciting other opinion. They cut them down without compunction. In second, they can silence an entire group because no one wants to risk humiliation at the hands of know-it-all. Watch out for the person who has absolutely no interest in anyone's opinion but his own. Be careful if you flaunt your opinion. Make sure others realize you are only offering your personal opinion about what works for you. There is one example equation that, when used properly, prevents anyone from becoming a know-it-all. It is this four-word query: what is your opinion? The advisor. The advisor always leaves her calling card at the scene of the crime. She is readily identifiable by her endless array of solutions to everyone else's problem. She is a veritable Anne Landers, Miss Manners, Oracle at Delphi, and Dr. Ruth rolled into one. There is nothing she cannot solve. Even when you don't want solutions, she generously offers unsolicited advice without charge. Despite her generous nature, the advisor is a true outlaw. She decimates a perfectly good chat by meddling. The truth is, most people do not want advice. They want empathy and compassion. When the advisor rides in on her white horse to save the day, she minimizes the very person she is trying to rescue. She presumes that in hearing a tiny snippet of another's dilemma, she has an intimate understanding of the problem and knows the perfect solution. The advisor would do much better digging deeper to learn more about the issue and offering support instead of unsolicited solution. The advisor is very seductive because she is upbeat, confident, and wants to help. That's what makes her so wily. It is easy to unwittingly emulate her. In fact, I just did my impersonation of the advisor and was mortified once I realized it. I was having lunch with my friend Bill, who recently received a promotion to manager of a large sales territory for a medical supply company. He was talking about the difficulties with a new sales rep. The guy's sales were out, he was not making headway, he was discouraged, and so on. Well, I just chimed right in with all the solutions for him. I said, I think the key to success is sales, and sales visibility is everything. I just kept knocking on doors till they started opening. Bill didn't need my advice. He needed my support. He just wanted to talk about his difficulties and share his thoughts and giving solution. I was not empathic. I was presumptuous. Bill did not ask for advice. He was not seeking my infinite wisdom. He wanted an attentive ear to make the same mistake, give the gift of listening, and offer advice only when it's solicited. Advisors are everywhere. I had an encounter with one of the sky slopes of Colorado. I was invited to teach a small talk seminar to ski instructor. I decided to ignore my fear of hate and take a ski lesson to better see how the instructors might best use small talk. I was grouped with a family from Alabama who had never even seen no snow before. As the lesson progressed, the instructor noticed how cautiously I was skiing. I was even more reticent than the Alabamians. The instructor decided that I must have had weak quad muscles. He showed me some strengthening exercise to solve the problem. The real problem was the advisor instructor did diagnose this difficulty without even consulting me. He had no idea that I am an avid runner. My quad strength is fine, thank you very much. It was my terror at standing at an altitude of over 11,000 feet that practically paralyzed me. Had the instructor bothered to find that out, he would have given me a much more effective skiing lesson. Had he dug deeper, he would have discovered that his premature analysis of my problem was completely incorrect. Physicians are among the most notorious advisors. They frequently interrupt the patient and diagnose the problem before the patient has a chance to tell the whole story. Frequently, the patient does not get to the heart of the matter until the doctor has his hand on the doorknob about to exit the room. If the doctor would sit and listen to the patient completely before rendering an opinion, the appointment would be much more successful. Each would enjoy reduced frustration and a better outcome. Does the following conversation seem familiar? Steve, how was your day? Deborah, I had a rough day. Steve, what's going on? Deborah, I have a amount of paperwork to complete for a proposal and I haven't paid for my trip to Seattle tomorrow. I am really behind. Steve, haven't I told you a million times that if you would just work smarter instead of harder, you should let your assistant prepare the proposal, and why didn't you pack over the weekend instead of waiting till the last minute? You should plan better. Deborah, first of all, if it were not for the last minute, nothing would get done. Second of all, when I start telling you how to work on people's teeth, then you can start telling me how to run my business. I'm picking on my husband, but I can be equally as bad or even worse. Deborah, good morning, Steve. How did you sleep? Steve, I had a terrible night. Couldn't get to sleep for the longest time and then tossed and turned. Deborah, Steve, why don't you try exercising or reading a book to relax? There I go offering unsolicited advice. All my husband wanted was a response like, Deborah, oh Steve, that must be so frustrating. Acknowledge that what has been said is important. Providing unsolicited advice is not welcome in almost any situation. A crime-free conversation. This aid criminal can bleed the life right out of any conversation. Sure, there are criminal lookalikes too. Most of those folks are petty criminals specializing in misdemeanors that can hurt a good gap session but cannot kill it. You have the skills to deal with this kind of infractions. However, when you recognize one of the most wanted and exercise extreme caution, even the most vigilant conversationalist can still get amused. You can even take down your own conversation because your truth is, we each have a rap seat. I'm a chronic interrupter when I don't police myself. Chances are that unless you are impersonating Mother Teresa, you have a conversational weakness that could land you on the most wanted list if you are not careful. Be on the lookout for your own criminal activity. For you, maybe aiding and abetting the murder of the good conversation. Even if you take the high road and have a clean conversational record, you never know when you will find yourself with a convicted felon on the loose, slaughtering perfectly good small talk. Sometimes there is nothing that can be done except to preserve your own safety with a quick getaway, knowing that it behoves you to have several escape routes planned so that you can exit in a hurry if need be. Fear not, I wouldn't leave you in harm's way. Your escape hatch is waiting. Then, the graceful exit. Whether you are trying to escape a convicted conversation killer or just want to circulate more, there are ways to artfully exit a conversation that leaves the other person's ego intact. I found that many people remain in a conversation longer than they should for two reasons. They feel trapped, especially if it's just two-person dialogue, or they are so comfortable that they don't want to leave. Comfort begets complacency. Why would I risk rejection with a stranger when I can stay here with you and talk sport? If you are at a party or an industry meeting and your goal is to meet people, you must find the courage to leave the conversation in order to accomplish your goals. Done properly, an authentic farewell will actually enhance your relationship. When you prepare to depart a conversation, recall why you originally connected with your conversation partner and bring the conversation back to that topic. Doing so will allow you to make a meaningful connection and take your leave easily. For instance, I was at an open house run by a large corporation. Before I left my conversation partner, I said, Tom, it's been wonderful talking with you about the changes impacting the healthcare industry. I need to catch up with another client before she leaves. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Tom returned to the compliment. We shook hands, and I headed to my client while Tom went in another direction. Notice that I didn't make excuses for my leaving. I didn't say that I had to call the babysitter or that I needed to return the page. That well known age. Honesty is the best policy. It's really true. It's important to retrain your poison state your reason to departing courteously, even if you despise the conversation and are jumping at a bit to leave. Be tactful as you go. Here are some diplomatic ways to make your exit. Exit lines. I need to go to see the exhibits. I have to go to talk to the speaker. I'm going to circulate and meet some of the new members. I want to see if there are any other people from my industry here today. I must speak with my membership chairperson before I leave. I promised myself that I would meet 3 new people before I leave this evening. I want to meet some other potential clients this morning. I want to get around and say hello to everyone at this meeting and party. These exit lines are successful because they put the focus directly on you. You clearly stated the reason you are all leaving the conversation is that you need to do something. There is no mistaking the fact that you have a specific agenda that you are trying to accomplish. By highlighting your own goals, you take the burden off your conversation partner. Your small talking associate now knows that your need to move on has nothing to do with the quality of time you just spend with the person, or you can borrow the let George Plimpton's strategy for the part of our boors at parties. Plimpton said he always carried the drinks. If he found himself talking to someone he wished to escape, he politely excused himself by saying he had to deliver the other drink. And the cardinal rule of the exit is that when you depart, you do what you said you were going to do. If you said goodbye to Joan by telling her that you were going to see the exhibit, go do it. If you allow yourself to get sidetracked on route to the new destination, you run the risk of insulting your former partner. For instance, if Vince stops you on your way to the exhibit, don't stay and talk. Instead, say, Vince, it's good to see you. I just want to on my way to exhibits. Would you like to join me, or can I catch up with you afterward? If you make the mistake of getting immersed in a conversation with Vince, all John sees is that you didn't go to exhibits, as in a prison that you were never headed there, and that your true goal was just to end the conversation. You now have the attorney's reputation, an upset person, and other possibly unintended consequences. Don't burn the bridge by failing to get to your next destination. 11. The conversational ball is in your court. Here is a cheat sheet full of tips to review before any event, occasion, or interview or date. Always take the risk and assume the burden. Check out the following. Go to whatever meeting, luncheon, or party waits and seize the day. 50 ways to fuel a conversation. 1. Be the first to say hello. 2. Introduce yourself to others. 3. Take risks and anticipate success. 4. Remember your sense of humor. 5. Practice different ways of starting a conversation. 6. Make an extra effort to remember people's name. 7. Ask the person's name if you have forgotten it. Then show curiosity and sincere interest in finding out about others. Tell others about the important event in your life and don't wait for them to draw it out. Demonstrate that you're listening by stating their comment in another way. Communicate enthusiasm and excitement about your subject and life in general. Go out of your way to try to meet new people wherever you are. Accept a person's right to be an individual with different ideas and beliefs. Let the natural person in you come out when talking with others. Be able to succinctly tell others in a few short sentences what you do. Reintroduce yourself to someone who is likely to have forgotten your name. Be ready to tell others something interesting or challenging about what you do. Be aware of open and closed body language. Smile, make eye contact, offer a handshake, and go find the approachable person. Greet people that you see regularly. Seek common interests, goals, and experiences with the people you meet. Make an effort to help people if you can. Let others play the expert. Be open to answering common ritualistic questions. Be enthusiastic about other people's interests. See that the time is balanced between giving and receiving information. Be able to speak about a variety of topic and subject. Keep up to date on current events and issues that affect our life. Be willing to express your feeling, opinion, and emotion to others. Use I when you speak about your own feelings and personal things rather than you. Visually show others that you are enjoying your conversation with them. Be ready to issue invitation to others to join you for other events or activities to further the relationship. Find ways to keep in touch with friends and acquaintances you meet. Seek out others' opinion. Look for positive in those you meet. Start and your conversation with the person's name and handshake or a warm greeting. Take the time to be friendly with your neighbors and coworkers. Let others know that you would like to get to know them better. Ask others about things that they have taught you in previous conversation. Listen carefully for free information. Be ready to ask open-ended questions to learn more. Change the topic of conversation when it has run its course. Always search for the thing that really gets another excited. Compliment others about what they are wearing, doing, or saying. Encourage others to talk to you by sending out positive signal. Make an effort to see and talk to people you enjoy. When you tell a story, present the main point first and then add the supporting detail. Include everyone in the group in conversation whenever possible. Look for signs of boredom or lack of interest from your listener. Prepare ahead of time for each social or business function. 12. Make the most of networking event. Learn how to make the most meeting, interviewing, and networking event and come across as composed and self-assured when entertaining client at convention, trade show, and other work-related function. Do you dread reception, banquet, or other business-related social event? Does attending another open house make you want to run inside your own and lock the door? You are not alone. Many of us are apprehensive about this situation because most of us either hate entering rooms where we don't know anyone or hate spending time with people we don't know well. Keeping a conversation during such occasion is an ordeal, but for a business professional, this occasion represents an opportunity to develop business friendship and broaden our network. Whether you realize it or not, networking happens all the time. During an awkward social gathering, demanding sales presentation, or tough interview, small talk and turn a challenging situation into a success. Small talk connects us, whether the setting is business or social. Everyone learns the technical skill required for their jobs, but not everyone places importance on conversational skills. The ability to talk easily with anyone is a learned skill, not a personal trait. Acquiring it will help you to develop rapport with the people and leave a positive impression that lasts longer than an exchange of business card. Here are a few tips business professionals can use to improve their small talk skills. Be the first to say hello, introduce yourself, act as if you are the host and introduce new arrival to your conversational partner. Smile first and always shake hands when you meet someone. Take your time during introduction, make an extra effort to remember names and use them frequently in the conversation. Maintain eye contact in any conversation. Many people in a group of 3 or more look around in the hope that others will maintain eye contact on their behalf. Yet, people don't feel listened to if you're not looking at them. Get somebody to talk about why they are attending the event. You are now on your way to engaging them in conversation. Show an interest in every person. The more interest you show, the more wise and attractive you become to others. Listen carefully for information that keeps the conversation going. Remember, people want to be with the people who make them feel special, not people who are special. Take responsibility to help people you talk to feel as if they are the only person in the room. Play the conversation game. When someone asks, how's business and what's going on, answer with more than, not much, tell me about yourself so that others can learn more about you. Be careful with business acquaintances. You wouldn't want to open a conversation with, how's your job at blah blah blah. What if the person just got fired or laid off? Be careful when you are asking about the acquaintance's spouse or special friend. You could regret it. Don't act like you are an FBI agent. Question like, what do you do? Are you married? Do you have a children? Where are you from? Led to death and conversation. Beware of bodily, nervous or ill at ease. People make the others uncomfortable. Act confident, comfortable even when you are not. Be prepared. Spend a few minutes before and anticipated even preparing to talk easily about three topics. They will come in handy when you find yourself in the middle of an awkward moment. Show an interest in your conversation partner opinion too. You are not the only person who has opinion about funding the space program or what will happen to the stock market. Stop conversation monopolies in their track. If possible, wait for the person to take a breath or to pause. Then break in with a comment about their topic. Immediately redirect the conversation in the direction you wish it to go. Be prepared with exit lines. You need to move around and meet others. Do not melt from conversation. Make a positive impression by shaking hands and saying goodbye as you leave. Every encounter involves risk. As long as you keep looking for new people to meet and you show an interest in other people, you can make friends and enjoy lively conversation. 13. Surviving the single scenes. You enter a room full of people. All of them seems to be happily engaged in conversation with someone else. You start to worry that others are going to judge you and find you lacking. You steel yourself for rejection. You almost turn and decide it's not worth it to attend this event. You might be suffering from social anxiety disorder, but you are just attending a singles event and feeling the natural anxiety of putting yourself out there and making yourself vulnerable. Probably the scary social scene is one in which you are there specifically to meet other people. You don't have the purpose of networking to prop you up. You are simply there to connect with others, and for some strange reason in our society that takes courage to admit. Most of my single friends admit to me that they hate the dating scene. My sister Elizabeth, a researcher at Harvard, says dating, what's that? My single 40s friends and I have all decided we are far too busy to date. But one friend, Susan, has been divorced for 8 years and has later decided to change her circumstances. She would be ecstatic to find a perfect man, but she refuses to settle for someone who is not right for her. She would rather stay single and continue to play the field. To her, it's actually fun. There are so many different situations that call for small talk in the single scene that it's difficult to give one size fits all advice. Are you in your 20s or your 50s? Do you prefer going to a bar or to organize event? Are you a man or a woman? The indoor or outdoor type. But one piece of advice will cover all situations. Don't think of what you are doing as single socializing. Just think of it as networking. You have something to offer others, and they have something to offer you. Connections to humanity. Pull yourself together. One of the most daunting aspects of single socializing is making your entrance, actually walking in where the action is taking place. It's important to understand that you don't have to make small talk immediately upon entering. Susan says she always takes a deep breath before she enters the room and visualizes pulling all her energy into her core, so that she's not sending out any feelers. When she makes her entrance, she is literally pulling herself together. Stand in the doorway and survey the scene. And this accomplishment two things. You get a moment to stabilize yourself and get your bearings. And you are framing yourself for everyone to see. They will perceive you as a self-confident person and unconsciously hope for the change to speak with you. Self-confidence is probably the single most powerful magnet right after a good look. But after you walk into the room, pretend you are invisible, no one sees you, so you have no need to feel uncomfortable or insecure. Everyone else in the room is either too occupied with their own activity or conversation, or else completely absorbed in their own feeling of uncertainty, and you can wander around the room looking for food or drink and simply adapt yourself to the environment. Now is a good time to soak up the scene. Who is here? How does the crowd feel? Are people having a good time, or is there a lot of tension? Look around, who seems approachable. As you make your observation, your thoughts will turn into words which you can then share as you approach others or they approach you. It's always easiest to break the ice with a few observations about the situation rather than asking for personal information. Normally, if you make an in no shoes observation, the person on the other hand will respond with their impression. It's sometimes effective to start small talking with a person of the same gender. It's less threatening and will get you over your stage fright. Plus, you never know, they might introduce you to someone really interesting. Icebreakers for singles. I have been here before, but it's never been so crowded. Which way to the food bar? I know exactly zero people here. How about you? This food looks like it's pretty tasty. It looks that there are a lot of interesting people here. Do you know any of them? Would you please hand me a napkin? Friday afternoon are a great time for this kind of thing, something to look forward at the end of the week. I never know what to say at these affairs, but I would like to meet you. Find the connection. While Susan says she loves playing the field, most people hope to find that special person with whom they can honestly connect. Think about the words connection and relationship. To connect or relate it means to find commonality with another human being. You can begin looking for this connection as soon as you engage a stranger in small talk by offering something about yourself and by asking questions of the other person. Keep in mind that when someone responds to your comment or answer your question, they usually give you more fodder for small talk. Connectors. You look totally at this. I wish I could feel the same way you do. That's a great outfit. Pair of shoes, bracelet, necklace. I love fashion, good taste, jewelry. I almost did harm to read a book instead of coming here. I would rather be watching basketball, but this is fun too. I have never attended one of these events before. What's your experience with this organization? How did you hear about this event? This is an interesting organization. Have you tried any of their other events, like hiking or recycling? Follow up on the connection. Consider the following approach when you ask a question or a question is asked of you. Think about how you will comment on whether it's said by your conversation partner. And here is the example. You, how often do you go out? Her, almost every night. As he responded, think about how to comment on what he's saying rather than on your next question. This exercise does wonder to sharpen your listening skill. You, no, that sounds like a lot of work. Comment on her response rather than asking a predictable follow-up question like, where do you like to go? It takes a higher level to listen to make a follow-up comment that it does to ask a follow-up question. If you had a follow-up question in mind that you were attempted to use but did not, then you are on the right path. Although you didn't follow with a question, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have had one at the ready. As the general rule, always formulate at least one follow-up question and keep it in your head, even if you may not use it. Instead of a witty or humorous follow-up comment, another option is to follow up with a disclosure. Let's see how this works. You, how often do you go out? Her, almost every night. You, really? I used to be able to do that. This time, a statement of self-disclosure rather than a comment keeps the connecting going. It's also helpful to have a relevant follow-up question in mind. Most of the time, follow-up comment and disclosure will act as prompters. They will usually prompt the other person to speak or to ask you question. And let's revisit the example. You, how often do you go out? Her, almost every night. You, now that sounds like a lot of work. In this case, the follow-up comment will act as a prompter. Her laughing. Yeah, I know, it's like a follow-time job. When you comment on someone's response, they will be prompted to say something in return. Use it as a connecting view. What do you do when there is not a response to the follow-up comment or disclosure? Use one of the follow-up questions that you formulated and patiently kept around in your head. Let's go back to the example we have been working with. How often do you go out? Almost every night. Now that sounds like a lot of work. Love, but no response. Where do you like to go? Here was a follow-up question that was relevant to the original question. How often do you go out? And her response to it almost every night. Other potential questions could have been, where do you get all that energy? Or how do you make you so much time? Once you get into the habit of making follow-up comment and disclosure, adding in follow-up questions is a change. With the creative usage of these three elements, question, follow-up comment, and follow-up question, the possibility and variation in conversation are virtually limitless. As long as you stay focused on the conversation, you can keep it going. Asking for that date. Not that you have a successful small talk your way through the single scene. You have a range of potential date meets, but actually asking for a date, putting your ego on the line and risking rejection moves you to a whole different level. Why Susan never call a man for a date, Linda is a diamond. Why shouldn't I be able to choose who I would like to go out with? Just because I'm a woman does not mean I should just wait for some random person to choose me. She makes sure she is ready with a small talk whenever she phones a man for a date. First, I reconnect how we met. I refresh his memory about a couple of incidents at the event. I tell him how much I enjoyed our conversation there and mention that it would be fun to resume it over kind of coffee or lunch. As assertive as I am, I never ask a man out for dinner on the first date. It seems frustrating both to me and to him to suggest something more casual. My friend Bob offered this advice. Have some daily idea in mind before you pick up the phone. I will call a woman and say something like, there is someone testing at Hudson Garden on the Tuesday night. I was thinking we could go to that early in the evening and then maybe we take a walk around the river, or we could get some dinner somewhere near the gardens. Not that he doesn't call the person he is interested in and say, what are you doing Saturday night? Which would offer her the perfect opportunity to answer, washing my hair. Invitation like, would you like to get together sometime? Or to folk. Be specific in order to receive a direct answer. Bob's approach is to offer his potential date something specific, and special, of course, for them to do together at. By the way, something that sounds like a fun, at least for the first few dates. Try to think of ideas that would appeal to your date rather than choosing something we would like to do. Don't think that you just because you like to go to the races. She will too, although many more women are into sport than they were, say, 20 years ago, and women don't assume that anyone likes to go shopping. I personally know only one man, either single or married, who thinks shopping would be a fun date. The best dating advice I would have heard lately is that from a man who never asked for a date and the first time he calls or email. He exercises precision and wait until the second or third contact. Even then, he tries to suggest something that he might do with any friend, like a bike ride or a gallery tour. This approach takes a little longer, but it builds real trust and affection before moving on to the heavier stuff. In the long run, he probably gets farther faster and with a more satisfying outcome. Another piece of advice offered by my 18-year-old son that makes sense. Don't plan a movie or theater date for the first few dates. Interaction is key to getting to more understanding one each other. Try to empathize with the person who is doing the calling. Courage is required of anyone asking for a date. Would ask Friday or Saturday night, and what are you up for? A movie or some dancing? Please do not answer with whatever. A whatever response indicates that one of the two things, neither one of them positive. You either don't care about this person or the conversation, or you don't know what you want. A cheerful comeback Saturday night sounds great, and I would be happy to go dancing with you either night. It's appropriate. On the date. People like to feel good about themselves. Dating is a perfect opportunity to do that for someone else. Make them feel like they are attractive and interesting. Focus on your date rather than worrying about what he or she is thinking of you. My friend Jenny emailed me the story. I asked my date question for 2 straight hours. He was very self-absorbed and asked Zill about me. And then there was silence, so I said to him, okay, now you ask me some question. He thought a minute and then said, so how am I doing? Definitely not a keeper. Another friend tells the story about a guy she dated who was intensely connected with her as long as she was doing the talking. But as soon as she took her turn, his eyes would wander all around the room. She had listened politely and actively, and now he was sending her to the message that she was boring him. She watched it happen for the last time when they went to dinner at the outdoor cafe. He was able to ignore all the beautiful women walking past as long as he was doing the talking, but when her turn came, he would look beyond her, over her, anywhere but at her in order to claim some attractive women. My friend was hard and offended. She got up and left, telling him, you don't need me here. You can just talk to yourself and keep company with all the beautiful women walking by. Calling for the date small talk. It was great to meet you at blah blah blah. I hope you had a good time as I did. Hey, I wanted to add something to our conversation the other night. You mentioned blah blah blah. Do you have any idea where I can find one? I really enjoy our conversation about blah 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 and felt like we kind of connected on that issue or topic. Would you like to go for a coffee this weekend so we can continue the discussion? You mentioned to me that you like contemporary art and the art museum has a blah 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 exhibition until the next month. Would sometime in the evening this week work for you? I remember you said that you were a fan of blah blah blah. I enjoy him too. Do you want to go see his latest film sometime over the weekend? Dating wisdom. Over the years, many of my readers workshop at Tenders have shared their stories with me. Allow me to pass some of them on to you. Leave your cell phone in the car. Paul gave up on dating, but not before he had this experience to relate. I was meeting someone for the first time after corresponding through email. It was an awful conversation anyway, but then her phone rang without so much as an excuse me to answer it. I promptly got up and left. Perhaps an overreaction, but it did get me out of there. So if you are giving advice, turn off your cell phone works for me. Careful what you say. This admonition comes from Patty, who shares the story. My boyfriend Rob went out on a double date that was arranged with one of the partner at his office. His blind date was a friend of the partner wife, and they were trying to set Rob up with her on the date. The four of them watched. A young lady walked by and she had a large visible tattoo. Rob committed to his three table mates. I don't understand why any young women would get a tattoo. Don't they know that it's a huge turnoff? Sure enough, his date, who was only in a free other way, had a tattoo. Save your demon for later in the relationship, Jim. Reveals his frustration in the telling of this tale. A friend fixed me up. A term I have learned to loathe with a physiologist from Manhattan who specializes in working with sexually abused women and children. I like smart women, so I foolishly said yes. I met Sarah at a wonderful restaurant in San Francisco. After we sat down, his first question was, "Have you had an AIDS test?" I was immediately reminded of a woman friend who suggested at the very time of my divorce that I have an AIDS test, which would make me more marketable. I always try to find humor in a moment of adversity, so I suggested to Sarah that we order a drink first and I would fill out the questionnaire. Sarah was not amused. Look, she insisted, it's a 21st century and I'm not going to fool around with some guy who does not know where it's been. Things went downhill from there. I went into my I will seem smart by shutting up mode and just listened for an hour to report spousal abuse, slavery abuse, child abuse, cheating abuse, that bad, everything. I shook Sarah's hand and we left the restaurant and said, it's been a unique. Amazingly, Sarah called the next day and told me that what a wonderful time she had and we could see each other again. Try some sensitivity before you blurt out opinion. 14. The feel-good factor. People part with their money for two reasons: to solve a problem and to attain good feeling. Look at it this way. It's hard to quickly evaluate the expertise of a new dentist, but you immediately know which one makes you feel more comfortable. You can take lessons from a highly qualified ski instructor, but if his silence makes you feel awkward while riding a chairlift together, you will switch instructor. When Walmart and Target carry the same item at about the same prices and they are located close together, where do you buy? You choose the store where the written are simpler, the bill are friendlier, and the appearance is cleaner, where you are made to feel more welcome. The feel-good factor underlies every aspect of life, even in the area of the parent-teacher conferences. If your child's teacher delivers negative feedback in a way that shows empathy, not harshness, you are more likely to support the next vote to increase taxes that go towards school. In a front-page story, USA Today reported that legendary basketball star Kareem Abdul-Jabbar hired a public relations professional to help him get the job interview for a coaching position. Apparently, he is perceived as so aloof he cannot get high school, colleges, or a pros to talk to him. Similarly, in the corporate world, if you want a promotion but come across as aloof or reserved, you will be overlooked in favor of someone who has warm people skills that make others feel good about being around them. Here is how to build rapport that leads to success in every business relationship. Use small talk as a picture frame around business conversation. Begin and end with a small talk when making a presentation to a client, selling a widget, negotiating a contract, providing a service, or conferencing with your child's teacher. A study conducted with physicians showed those who spend a few minutes asking patients about their family, the work, the summer plan before and or after an examination are less likely to be sued than those who don't. Let's face it, people don't sue people they care about, and we care about people who show they care about us. Express empathy. Everyone is entitled to be listened to, even when in the wrong. Consider the client who sees the stock market rise 30% but not his own portfolio. The stockbroker knows the client insisted on picking the stock himself, but it would be a mistake to make the client wrong. It's better to say, I realize it's frustrating to experience this. What can we do from here? That goes a long way to diffusing negative emotion and helping the client feel better about the relationship, rather than tempted to move on to another stockbroker. Greet people warmly, make eye contact, and smile. Use the person's name in a conversation. You are more likely to get special treatment by using the person's name. When you call to clarify your credit card billing, for example, say, Joey, thanks for taking the time to help me with this question. That makes Joey feel his role is important. If you don't know someone's name, take a moment to ask and then repeat it. Be sure to pronounce it correctly and never presume your conversation partner has a nickname. My name is Debra, not Davy. I don't feel good when people call me Davy. It's a little thing that has a big importance. Show an interest in others. In response to our high-tech environment of email and fax broadcasts, we need to high touch more than ever. That's what you create when you show an interest in the lives of your customer, client, patient, or every chance you get. Dig deeper. When you engage in a conversation, don't leave it quickly. If your customer, client, patient mention her education, pick up on the cue and dig deeper. Ask where she went, what she did, what the highlight was. If she would go back, you will make her feel good about her life and about taking time with you. Always follow up a question like, how's work? What's been going on at work since the last time we spoke? This way he or she know you really want to hear about what is going on in his work. And be a good listener. Stop being an advisor. Yeah, when you mention a problem might be having with an employee or an associate, two people offer advice without asking any question. Have you ever put together a resume and as soon as you send it out, someone told you it was too long or too short or too detailed or not detailed enough? Jumping in the with unsolicited advice happens annoyingly often. Instead of advice, give understanding with simple phrases like, I know you can work out a solution, or I hope the job hunt goes well for you. Offer advice only when you are specifically asked for it. An example I use in my presentation really makes my point about the feel-good factor. I wanted to find a good print shop near my home and walk into the busiest post office in our state. I was greeted with a sign that read, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. I thought, how many people would slip into this shop for a few photocopies before mailing out an important package? I doubt they would feel welcome here. I then visited a printing shop across the street. The colorful sign posted there made my day. One featured a cactus and said, "Stock, we will help you get out of a prickly situation." The other showing a pot of jam. Read, "In a jam, we will help you out of a sticky situation." You can guess which printer made me feel better about warming a business relationship. Whether you wanted to land a job, enhance your practice, gain listing, increase your billable hours, bring new people into your business or make sure people remember you with referrals, pay attention to the feel good factor and enjoy the success that follows. Thank you for